Hello and welcome to Hard Copy from our channel's television studios in Abuja. I'm Kayla Magwa. Nigeria's insecurity is no longer measured only by casualty figures. It's measured by fear. Fear of sending children to school, fear of traveling between towns, fear of cultivating farmlands, fear that a loved one may leave home and never return. Over a month ago, fear grips the nation again when school children and their teachers in Oriire local government area of Oyo State were kidnapped on their way to an academic program. The eventual release after over 50 days with the kidnappers has brought relief. But it also underscored a painful reality. In today's Nigeria, safe return is celebrated because abduction itself has become disturbingly commonplace. Across the Southwest, kidnapping, violent attacks on rural communities, highway robberies and organized criminal networks are becoming an increasingly familiar part of daily life, challenging the long-held perception of the region as one of Nigeria's safest. The federal government insists that security is improving, pointing to the elimination of kingpins, intelligence-driven operations, and the rescue of victims. Yet, for many communities, success is not measured by statistics or press statements. It's measured by whether children can go to school without armed escorts, whether farmers can return to their fields without paying protection money, and whether families can travel to the region's highways without wondering if they will become the next headline. Security, many argue, cannot be won from Abuja alone. It must be built street by street, village by village, community by community. But after years of insecurity, has trust between government and the people been strengthened or steadily eroded? Tonight on Hard Copy, we ask, beyond military operations and police deployments, what is the federal government doing to reconnect the communities that increasingly feel vulnerable? Is community engagement becoming a genuine pillar of Nigeria's security architecture, or is it simply another government slogan? How do you persuade frightened citizens to become partners in intelligence gathering when many believe the state cannot adequately protect them? And as security continues to evolve across the Southwest, is the government staying ahead of the threat or merely reacting after tragedy strikes? Joining me is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement Southwest, Moremi Ojudu. Moremi Ojudu, welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you very much, Caleb.
So let's talk a bit about your portfolio. When you got this job, what did the president say he needed you to do in the Southwest?
Interestingly, I got a call from my super leader. They made me to withhold his name. And then he's like, I got you the perfect position that suits your personality, that suits you, that suits your charisma. And I'm like, what is it? Community engagement, Southwest. So interestingly, I've not really come across that phrase. I just went on Google and I'm like, what is expected of me? And then when the announcement was out, everyone started sending me things about community engagement, what they expect me to do. And naturally, I just realized that this was a prayer answered because my personality, who I am, fits into that position. For me, the experience has brought me closer to people. I now understand the backdrop of people relations with regards to government. I understand critically that governance policies cannot be made without understanding particularly what people feel, listening to them before you go back to the boardroom or before you go back to the Federal Executive Council to make such decisions. Insecurity is akin to the Southwest region. In your earlier remarks, it's something that the Southwest region has been considered the safest region, about the safest region. But listening to these insecurities here and there, the kidnappings, adoptions of our children, is heartbreaking. Growing up in the Yoruba land, you could travel from Oyo down to Shaki, travel across these areas without any fear. But now we nurse fears. And my own experience suggests that there is now a very strong limitation to resources. wherein people do not have necessary resources to take care of their needs.
So poverty is rife.
Poverty is highly rife. Okay. So this poverty has created a situation where people are now exposed to wicked persons of manipulative people. You see people sell information for money. These people go back to this, in Yoruba we call it ajoji, strangers. We sell our people, we sell what we know to strangers because of what we want to get. The backdrop of the situation in Oriire local government, about 3 years ago, strange people from very strange lands. I don't want to categorize it, but I believe that these people are foreigners. And unfortunately, the Southwest region, some areas, you share boundaries with, international communities. Now, these persons come into our community. They patronize our local traders. They buy bread. They buy beans. And of course, our local traders, in a bid for them to get money, these persons can just come and buy 100 loaves of bread. Bread is not something that a Yoruba man would naturally want to sit down and eat and use to entertain people around him. That should have sent a strong signal that, who is patronizing my bread? Who is this person? But because we want that money, we don't even ask questions again. So poverty is rife. Also, within our communities, there has been a very low signal to being your neighbor's keeper. Unfortunately, this is also something highly pronounced. Also, I would also come to the secondary issues, but these are the primary issues, wherein be your neighbor's keeper, watch your neighbor, what's happening here and there. So poverty has eaten deep into our people. And that's because many people, many top people, many people who are supposed to influence our lives by making sure that resources are available for us to use, have decided to hoard these things. It's not a President Bola Ahmed Tinubu situation. It's not.
So that story that you're giving about how people came in, because I'm also from a rural community.
Yeah.
And I remember we had to deal with the fact that many years ago, some strangers came into my community and we let them stay. And then before we knew what was happening, it was drugs they were teaching people to do. So these are things that we let fester. What happened in the case of these strange people who were buying bread in numbers? That
I'm telling you.
So did they settle in the community? Did they move into the front? What happened? What's the
settled,
story the people are telling you?
So the story is they come into the community. If the house rent, maybe probably a room apartment is going for like 50,000, they're offering 150,000 naira. So definitely these persons are funded. They have the resources to waste around. So a farmer will probably allow him, or a household now allows him to just rent that apartment.
Because it's paying more.
Because it's paying more.
And we're poor.
As against what the locals are paying. So these are the little things that's happening. I also want to note that the Bales are local heads. Unfortunately, I'm appealing to them. I'm not going to lay blames, but I really want them to be more intentional. And that's where my office also comes to play, to properly engage them more. Because they are the closest authority, they are the closest leadership to the locals and the communities. Because they have to also engage their chiefs to take more action. I also think that there's a communication failure, there's a disconnection, there's an apathy, there's a low passion. It just shows that an overwhelming sense has gripped the whole country, wherein, that sense of taking it upon yourself, patriotism, you probably are overwhelmed with your own personal issues before you even look into your other neighbors' issues. So it's all encompassing. And these are the issues that have, taken over the communities. Also, I remember this adoption of the children, and I think that's where we report a report. One of the parents told me something interesting when I went to the community. She said, her husband was on a palm tree. He was probably tapping, I don't know, he was doing maybe palm wine or something. And then he saw some men trying to come in. But unfortunately, his telephone, there was no network. He was trying to alert them, maybe alert the Oriire or alert someone there that, and when you come, let's know what we are doing, But there was no network. So that's a communication issue here. So some of them are still having that communal bonds. They still have all of that. But unfortunately, these are the issues we're facing. And these men overwhelmed them. It was in the morning that they came to adopt our children. At about 9:30, if I'm not mistaken, or 10, after the kids had gone into the assembly grounds, and they just came in. People didn't even know. This is a relatively peaceful community. Many communities in the Southwest are relatively peaceful. We practice communalism. Lagbaja mo, lagbaja mo, lagbaja mo, lagbaja. The other person's child is my mother. The other person. Do you understand? It's a communalist community, but when you go there, it's become a ghost village. They are living in fears. But we have to rethink. We have to come back to ourselves. We have to look back to ourselves. It starts with you and I. It's beyond government. It's beyond real conversation. It's about real conversations, proper conversations. How do we define ourselves? How do we support ourselves? Because my solution or the things I need may be tied to yours, and we just have to work together and probably lay. Because another thing I've realized is our young people's need for so much wealth. You know, you see your friend having the best cars, you also want to have the best car, you see, you know. So I think also another issue is our lack of ethics. We're fast losing our morals, our ethics. The family, if a mother doesn't even know her child is into prostitution already, she just calls her child and says, I was rent, not even knowing the pressure that she's putting on her child, on a 19-year-old child, on a 20-year-old child. These are the issues, Kayla.
When we look at Oriire, I had a conversation recently with the senator that represents that community, and he said there are over 600 communities in that locality. You know, and very relieved, of course, that the children are back. But then looking into the germane problems, and those are some of the things that you're raising here right now. He told me that the 8 people who were arrested, none of them were members of the community.
They were not.
So they were all
strangers.
So that actually lends credence to what you're saying. They're actually from outside of the community. But the security bit of it was something that we needed to talk about. And he was saying that he's appealing to the government to have more police posts. And that army that came, can they just stay there?
Yes.
They should give them, he said they should give them the national park.
I'm telling you, as a base for training. Because that park actually is the most challenging area for that community.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a blessing to them, wherein, it attracts tourists down there. But unfortunately, strangers are camping there. So I believe that with the presence of the military base, that will send a strong signal. They would all run. They will run, away from that area. So our forest parks that we thought were places of, interesting places to learn.
Places for hikers.
Places. So all of these things are dilapidating. Forest reserves parks are now becoming places, hideouts for bandits.
What community engagements? How many? I'm sure there'll be a lot. There's no rhyme or reason. It's usually sporadic.
Yeah.
With the engagements that you've had, what kind of reports about the Southwest? Because you're not just doing Oyo State, it's the whole of the Southwest.
Yes.
What kind of reports have you given to the president about the situation in the Southwest, and what what kind of solutions do you think he can bring to the problems that you've seen in your community engagements?
Okay, so with regards to the insecurity, the kind of reports I've written is, I traveled to the North Central recently with my colleagues, and then when I came back, I had to write a report. My report was centered around the Ministry of Agriculture, particularly on land clearing. So unfortunately, we have so much bushes because we have an arable land, and the rains, I'm finding the right word here. Sorry, I've lost it. So there's
lots of forests.
Forests,
in the Southwest.
That's the word. So it grows and grows, and so
very
we need a lot, bushing terrain. So we need these tractors to clear these lands.
Okay, so because it's a bushy terrain, movement is a challenge.
Is a challenge
because you don't have roads going through those forests.
So I had to try to say, okay, these tractors that we are trying to commission and that we want people to get, can we make it easily accessible to our farmers? So we need lots of land. When they're able to clear the land, farming is easier for them. And they need very sophisticated machines to clear our lands. It's a whole lot of is a lot of forest in the Southwest region. So that's the very first thing I actually noted. Secondly is our police posts. We have very little and minimal police posts. And interestingly, the president has just commissioned a committee to look into the state police. State police cannot be emphasized. A state domesticated, security force. It's very necessary because the security man who is from that region or from that particular community knows the nooks and crannies, understands the language, understands the behavioral pattern, understands everything wherein he can use to tackle any form or any threat of insecurity. So that's also part of my report as well. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Also is communication, as I said, masts,
For phone calls.
For phone calls, okay. Yes. Because they are suffering from that, that's one of the issues that all over, you see some communities, when you enter some community, even I can't reach, no, you can't reach me anymore. My friends in Abuja will be trying to call me and phew, I'm out of networks.
Okay.
So these are the issues.
Well, let's go on a short break.
All right.
When we come back from that short break, we'll be taking a look at some other complaints that we've gotten from other regions, talking about complicity of the people themselves in this insecurity, and if that's something that you see in the Southwest. So please, stay with us on Hard Copy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Hard Copy. If you've just joined us, the SSA to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on community engagements for the Southwest, Moremi Ojudu is our guest tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kayla.
All right, so let's talk about the communities. I had a pretty disappointing conversation one time with someone from Benue State who was talking about how the community themselves need to speak truth to each other because they're saying, listen, while we're looking at Yelwata and looking at Agatu and all of those things, there are things going on in the communities that need to be sorted out. Do you see that happening in the Southwest at all?
Absolutely. You can't keep turning a blind eye because one day the same thing would happen to you. My colleague from the North Central accused me and said, oh, Mary, when I talk about the insecurity in the North Central, I'm like, it won't come, it won't lie, I will pray. And then the reality is here in the Southwest. So it's a wake-up call. Yeah, because Dr. Abiodun has been going through it. She's been going through it. And I'm always like, thank God, though, nothing like that in the Southwest. But I should have probably taken a step back to study it and be much more prepared for what it may come. And now the reality is here in the Southwest. It's the most unfortunate thing. Explain it to me. When you say the communities are complicit, what do you mean? What I mean is, I still go back to the home. Values. I don't understand how we've had a terrible breakdown in our value system. Kayla, everything starts from the home. It starts from the home. The insecurity we see, the issues around not speaking up or the trainings, it reflects, it's on the general perception, it reflects widely. So I would say that a situation where we have people stealing each other's lands, doing one thing or the other that is bad to each other. These are the things that comes out, that becomes more protruded. So how does a communal issue open the door for terrorists and bandits? Of course, they see that opening. They see a situation where, there's a crack here. So they use the opportunity to just penetrate. But if a community stays guarded, stands together, hold each other's hands, there's no way a stranger will come in. It's just like a marriage. There's no third party. No one can break your marriage. So sometimes the informants is because of personal grouses? Personal grouses, personal gains. Yes, money. Greed. Not knowing that it may come back to haunt you. That person you're probably selling that information to may be stealing your own niece. May be coming for your niece. May someday, one day come for your wife or something. So there's so much greed. I think for me, completely the biggest is greed. Lack of contentment. Our media is fast sending a narrative of wealth in the wrong perception. So these things are creating issues where our children, our young people, our youths are seeing a need to they don't care. It's about me. Everyone is now being self-centered. What about the traditional institutions? When you have these engagements, do the
warring parties come together. We had Abiodun here not too long ago, and she was talking about how she has town hall meetings where in the communities if there are issues, or let's see if we can sort it out, and then they get the traditional rulers and religious leaders. Is that happening as well in the Southwest?
Yes, that's happening in the Southwest.
How is it going?
Okay, so for me, because I grew up in the Southwest, I understand it. I use education as the biggest tool.
Okay.
So I go back to the schools to talk to our young people. I go back to our vocational centers to explain things better, because the biggest export of the Southwest is education. Everybody knows that, the best educated people are from the Southwest region. They're exposed and everything. So I use the education system as a means to propagate these values, because I know that once things are corrected with a young person, there's going to be a better impact of knowledge, a transfer, of values here and there. So I try to talk to our teachers. I try to talk to these persons who impact knowledge. I also go back to the traditional institutions with the basis, with the knowledge I have as a Yoruba girl, to really understand them with respect. Go back to them, and they are able to relate to me. They do a very fantastic job. I have a fantastic relationship with many of the traditional rulers in the Southwest region, and they're able to let me know more. But also, as they say, they claim to say, so you have a situation where the state government is interfering in the traditional institutions. They don't give them the autonomy or the means or the necessary things they have to, bring better, how do I put it, to bring a better value chain to the community. So everything that a ballet or a traditional ruler is supposed to handle within his community, the state government has taken it away from them.
The state governments at some point had to deal with errant traditional rulers who had misused their power. And traditional authority and religious authority, these are things that are very difficult to argue with. So many people many of these traditional and religious leaders had taken over communities and become tyrants in their own right, which is why many state governments decided to step in and say, no. But there's a government that is higher than you.
Yes.
So that was the discipline, but you're saying that this has also a disadvantage.
It also has a disadvantage because they've been able to, there's no proper, I still talk about communication, that's community engagement. Appeals, humility, warmth. Okay, we're taking over this, but understand this, do this, we're in reconciliations, proper amendments. So these are the basis of our community engagement tours and discussions. We come as we understand your issues. We also are very firm, letting you know that this is what we have to do, this is what they have to do. But you need to understand, you just douse there. People can be very agitated, very aggrieved. As you said, you understand the interference of the state government because they can actually overuse their powers. But how are you also able to make them understand it? And that's the basis of community engagement.
When are you going to Oriire again?
I'm going back most likely this weekend. I should go back because the kids are still, there was a press conference yesterday, and they are still when I called last, they were still at the military hospital, and they said, nobody yet is seeing them. So hopefully by this weekend.
Because they look really exhausted.
They need the warmth.
The school headmistress.
She's
really exhausted. In fact, at some point I was like, they should stop this media thing. Let them go and get treatment and get better.
Get back to their family, bond back.
And it's core memory. You really can't do much about it. Do we have the wherewithal to talk to people who have now been traumatized, and these children now that have core memories that will always be a sign that their country failed them at some point?
My biggest fear is, would they want to go back to that classroom?
In fact, the lawmaker said they were going to move them to school outside of the community.
I don't think, so that's my biggest headache. For me, I'm looking at the schools wherein they were kidnapped. How do we make sure that the schools are better reformed? How do we make sure that we have a proper security system? Because the worst thing you can do to a child is take him out of school. And that's where parents are so fearful that they're like, I'd rather have my child with me than go to school. If the school is going to cause these issues or make me lose my child, I'd rather have my child in my bosom than take them back to the classroom. So that's the next step for community engagement, to see how we can make sure that the schools are secured.
Have you told the
better
president
secured?
that
Yes,
we're
working on that.
Are you going to push for the Safe School Initiative? Because I asked the lawmaker from Oriire local government area. Is Senator Buhari?
Buhari, yes.
Senator Buhari said that there is no safe school.
No, but I think the Minister of Education is working on that. I'm going to see him to discuss that with him. I have actually the pictures of the school. I went into the classrooms and then look at the environment of the school, how it's situated. If we can have, maybe our Boy Scouts or something, just have a better security system. It may not be something sophisticated, but wherein everyone, our child, the little Sarah, one of the young girls is Sarah, she's like 7 years old, is able to go back to that. We call them Jello Simi, kindergarten, and still do our thing. So these are the discussions we're going to have. This is a call for reflection. How did we get here as a community? A call for reflection across all levels. The communities have to call themselves back. As soon as the children are back to their parents, our teachers are back, there has to be a proper stakeholders meeting. What's the next step? How did we get here? How do we make sure that we have a continued or a better legacy of security? So for me, conversations, stakeholders, multi-stakeholder engagement, a proper handshake between the security agencies and our people, creating a better cohesion between the state government levels and the local government levels. So this is the biggest message. And I can also assure all our communities that President Tinubu is concerned. I want to also let them know that he is extremely sensitive to these issues. He understands it and is working assiduously to make sure that our country remains on the biggest trajectory of development across our regions.
I do have to thank you so much, Moremi Ojudu,
for
making out the time to be with us on Hard Copy. I know you're going to Oriire this weekend.
Yes.
Our greetings to everyone at Oriire, and all the best with all the work I know you have ahead of you.
Thank you very much.
That's Hard Copy this week. I'm Kayla Magua. Good night.